How are you all doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So you guys are new to season 2, correct? So what can you tell us about your characters?
Can tell you the whole thing,
yeah.
the ending and everything.
Yes. I have to tell you, I binge watched it because I started watching it and I couldn't stop. I loved it so much. So yes, tell me everything.
Well, you saw it. I can't ruin it for you.
No, I saw season 1. I want season 2. Tell me everything.
Well, we show up to Mars and it gets decidedly less attractive. So that's a downer.
Is that possible?
That's a downer. I don't think it is.
All right, Evan.
Yeah.
It's all on you.
What's the question again? I've totally lost it.
Tell me about your character. What's happening in season 2?
I'm a glorified bus driver on Mars. That's really my
He's
duty.
Not joking.
I'm not joking. You'll see me in the bus a lot.
Yeah.
So have you been practicing out here in New York traffic?
Yeah, actually.
Rover driver.
That was rover driver.
Without getting any
Yeah.
tips.
Two. But no, we come in as basically like a mining crew, and we start messing up stuff. I think stuff gets messed up. I think I can say that. Yeah. Yeah.
So for you first of all play 2 different roles on the show. How difficult is that for you?
It's a little bit schizophrenic. It can be. But it's a lot of fun too. You know, everyone's got a duality, right? So it's fun to play around with that.
So at the end of season 1, we thought that this was over. And all of a sudden they found life on Mars. So where do we go from there?
Well, on the show we found life on Mars, and in real life we found life on Mars. So that's really exciting. Where do we go from there? I mean, season 2 is basically about. Well, season 1 was about can we make it there? Can we survive there? And yes, we deployed a dome and we created a habitat. Season 2 is about can we survive there? And can we survive there with a new colony, with a new commander who is there on a bureaucratic level to exploit the planet? Can science survive with, a group?
Yeah, because science. It's less about like individual survival.
He wants your attention.
It's less about science.
Clearly.
All right. So we're just going to have to. I know. I'm sorry. But he's a nerd, so it's okay.
Really smart. He wants to go down.
So, Justin, you're known a little bit more as a documentary maker, and part of the show is about documentary, which I love. So how do you bring that aspect into cutting it with a drama, essentially?
Well, the whole concept for the show sort of began as a doc. When we began season 1, we were embedded at SpaceX, and we were really intrigued by what they were doing from a technology standpoint, and also really from an adventure standpoint as it relates to the human experience. So we started thinking about how do you bring literally that human experience to life in a dramatic way, and that led us to start thinking about dramaticizing the futuristic portions of the show. So that was the original conceit. What was great about season 2, I think season 1 in some ways was an experiment, just to sort of, no one had kind of done that sort of thing before. And we learned so much in the making of it that when we got the opportunity to do a season 2, and we were able to bring in Dee Johnson, who's this amazing dramatic showrunner, we could sit from the beginning and say, now that we know how these 2 pieces, the documentary and the drama, can work together, let's engineer that from the ground up. So we were able to have our documentarians out in the field collecting stories, and at the same time feeding that back into the writers' room. So as our writers were then writing, they knew exactly what we were shooting in the documentary. So it made the editorial a lot easier.
Oh, excellent. So for the documentary part, really the first season was about 2016 pretty much. Are we going to move forward to 2018 now? Are we going to still be in 2016 when we're watching them progress in terms of technology?
No, the doc really does mirror what's happening today, and it's in some ways really ripped from the headlines, because we're focused a little bit on technology, but we're much more focused on the clash between private enterprise and science. And environmental issues as a result of that. So we're in the Arctic, where drilling is a big issue. We're in Siberia, where there's an outbreak, of a virus. We're looking at even the policies of our own country right now and making a statement about that in a way. So it really is focused on the human experience, and it very much mirrors what's happening, for better or for worse, what's happening on this planet right now.
What are you most excited about for season 2?
I'm excited just the scale and the scope of it. We really got to expand the size of the colony. So from a visual effects standpoint, you really get to see a lot more of it. So that's kind of fun. It still feels claustrophobic, but you get a sense of if we actually had a base there and there were 200 people living there, and then there's another colony that arrives. What does that actually look and what does that feel like? How do they communicate? How do they transport materials back and forth? And you get to see more and more of that, so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, very excited for season 2. Thanks for talking with us.
Yeah, great to meet you.
All right, so you are the showrunner of this fantastic show that is really kind of groundbreaking because it's part documentary and part drama. So we talked a little bit to Justin about melding the two. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I came on season 2.
Yes, I know you were new. But.
I come from a very scripted background, and it was both challenging and incredibly rewarding to do, because what we did in season 2 is we just worked super closely with our documentary partners to develop storylines that they could sort of butt up against and supplement in ways that were thought-provoking and informative. It didn't stop action necessarily. So it was a real challenge, but I'm really pleased with the results.
Fantastic. We're very excited about it. So we talked a little bit to some of the cast, and 2 new crew members coming on, and they're starting a whole, mining thing. So talk a little bit about that for us.
Well, one of the things that once we were in season 2, we were going to have been there for a while, our one colony, which is great, and it's expanded, but everybody has the same agenda. Ultimately, it was science oriented. And we wanted to mix it up this year, because in life it would happen, whether it's been on Earth or there, you're going to get people who are there with another agenda. And so that's how we launched the season, by bringing a private enterprise that has a very different sensibility and a very different agenda, and see on a planet where there's no government necessarily, there's no 911, there's no anything, just these 2 colonies, how are they going to work together?
It gets a little more political in season 2?
It gets political in the sense that everything is political here too. You have industry and you have science, and those things ideally work together, and less than ideally, combat each other. And we just that seemed like a natural thing to explore on a pristine planet.
So I asked Justin what he was most excited about. So tell me what you're most excited about for season 2.
I am most excited about just this year being able to sort of dig into character more and seeing how the long-term presence on the planet not only affects the planet, but affects the people who have been there forever. Because that, to me, one of my biggest areas of interest is, as a writer, you're always thinking, well, what would it be like for me? If I put myself in that situation, how would it be? And we wrote to that, like, what would I need to survive there and not go bananas? And if you watch the season, you know the answer.
All right, well, thanks so much. I'm really excited for season 2.
So
Stephen, as the science advisor for this show, how do you marry the technical aspect with still making it understandable for the layperson?
Well, you bring human nature to the science. So people are people, and people do crazy things, no matter how carefully they think about science. So the show is a lovely mix of people being people in an environment that is heavily reliant on science and technology. So that's fun.
Are we getting any more science at this point that we don't already technically know about? Are we kind of doing a little bit of make-believe at all, or is it still all just technical science?
We took a couple of risks. All of the fiction in the program, as opposed to what the interviews with people like Andy and me are, all of the fiction that's in the program is based very strictly on what we know about science now. We're not taking any chances, with 2 exceptions. One chance we took was that there really are Mars quakes on Mars, and that while we were shooting, turned out to be true, fortunately. And we took a chance on what 99% of all Mars geologists think, but had not proven, that there was liquid water on Mars. And one satellite's observation since then looks like there's at least a lake 12 miles long of water on Mars. But we don't know for sure that that's true yet. But those are the only leaps of faith that we took. But those are based on really good scientific guesses.
All right, so Andy, tell me a little bit, why do you feel we are so fascinated with Mars?
Well, I think it's kind of the next obvious place to go, right? We've been to the moon. The Mars, it's also kind of like Earth's, twin, although Venus is really Earth's twin, although to a lot of people, Earth's blue, Mars is red, the Mars is over there. Mars is eminently more visitable than Venus, because Venus is all sorts of kill you. And so I just think people are fascinated by it. Also, we have about a century of fiction that just seems to revolve around Mars and Martians and stuff like that. So it's always been on people's minds as the next kind of awesome place to go.
I heard you say to someone that you would not want to go to Mars. Why not?
Because I'm not brave. I'm not an astronaut. I do not have the right stuff. I want to sit around in my nice, safe little environment and live my happy little life. I'm not an explorer. He'd go to Mars in a second.
But don't you think kind of writing a story and hoping that people will want to read it and it'll get published, isn't that being a little bit brave?
Not as brave as actually going out into space. There's very little chance I'm going to die of decompression as a result of a bad review, right?
Very true. What are you guys excited for season 2?
I'm really excited about the fact that there are more people on Mars, and that it looks like it's viable to have more people on Mars, and that we're developing an infrastructure for an even larger society on Mars. Mars doesn't work unless you have about 1 million people there eventually. It's not self-sustaining. You don't have enough people to build the infrastructure that you need and for people to support each other. So I'm very excited about the fact that all of a sudden it's not just 6 people who've landed on the planet and boy are they in trouble. It's now a cooperative group of several hundred people working together to build a new society.
Well, thank you. We're really excited about season 2. I appreciate you talking with us today.